Hey, what is going on, guys? My name is ThePromG and welcome back to a brand new video. Now, what are you guys today? It's my first impression manga review of Vagabond by Takehiko Inoue. Now, if you've been in the manga community for any period of time, it's more than likely that you've heard of Vagabond. And a lot of people who aren't even into manga have heard of this series or seen pictures of it, like on Instagram and stuff. Vagabond is such a highly acclaimed series, not only in the samurai genre, but also in the seinen genre, as well as just manga in general. And it's honestly become kind of a household name within manga in the ranks of Berserk, Naruto, you know, these mainstream series that we think of. And there's several reasons why so many people hold this manga to such a high standard and so highly regarded. Now, personally, as a huge fan of seinen, I don't know how I didn't get to reading Vagabond earlier, probably just because of the daunting price of collecting all of these Vizbigs. But yeah, I finally got around to it, picked up the first 4. So I'm going to be covering the first Vagabond Bizbig, aka the first 3 volumes of the series for this first version review. If you guys do enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more manga videos just like this. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. So right at the beginning of the manga, we're introduced to our main character, Takehiko. The opening scene shows him laying in this battlefield among piles of corpses, dead bodies, just mangled body parts. I believe the manga takes place in the year 1600, and this battle is specifically the Battle of Sekigahara. But Takehiko gets up and he reunites with his friend who also went into battle with him, named Haramachi. They're both 17 years old and they came from their village to the battlefield to fight, and they seem to be the only 2 people who have survived this battle. Now, I'll spare you guys all the details because there are a lot of things that happen in this first Vizbig, but I'll kind of give you the main points that happen. So basically, as they're walking back at night from this battlefield, don't really know where they're going, but they collapse and they're later recovered by this group of thieves. This group of thieves is a couple of women who recover like swords, helmets, and just armory from these battles. They steal them and then sell them off for profit. That's basically how they make their living. And eventually they get attacked by this other group of thugs, and there's this battle where Takehiko and Haramachi are fighting off these villains. And it gets to a point where Takehiko is basically fighting like a group of 10 people all by himself. And it's at this point where we kind of get a look back into Takehiko's life and his upbringing. Basically, he spent most of his time alone in the mountains. He spent all of his time training because he wanted to become the strongest swordsman. And eventually at the age of like 11 or 13, he actually took the life of an adult man. And after he did this, everybody was just afraid of him and they completely avoided him, except for Haramachi and this one other girl who comes later in the story. So Takehiko is basically seen as this beast or this demon of the sword just because of how relentless and brutal he is with his fighting. So there comes a point in the fight where Takehiko calls for Haramachi to come and help him in the fight. But while this is happening, Haramachi is actually breaking the bro code in the woods with one of the women thieves named Oku. So because Haramachi and Oku go away to another village to kind of start a life, Takehiko is left to become a vagabond, and he wanders the earth trying to become the most powerful swordsman under the sun. So again, a lot of stuff happens in these first 3 volumes, but we get to see a lot of amazing action, but also a lot of self-reflection as Takehiko looks back into his past and kind of thinks about the person that he's become. And then in the 3rd volume, he's given a chance at a new life, and he starts over as Musashi Miyamoto as his new name, as he starts a new life. But he still has the goal of becoming the most powerful swordsman under the sun, so he goes to Kyoto and he challenges a very prestigious sword school to try and challenge their master to a fight. And at the end of the Vizbig, Musashi, aka Takehiko, and Haramachi actually reunite, so I'm very excited to see where that goes in the next volume. But yeah, those are all the major plot points in this Vizbig, so now I'm going to go over what I thought about it, and then some little critiques that I have about the series, and overall what I think about it. Now, this wouldn't be a Vagabond review if I didn't start by talking about the art, and wow, this is some of the best art that I've seen in any manga ever. I mean, everything from the background, the environment, the faces, the fluid action, everything is just done to absolute perfection. There were several times where I was reading this first Vizbig where I was just staring at the environment and like it was so immersive, just putting myself into the environment, immersing myself in the scenery, just kind of get lost in it. A lot of this first Vizbig is spent in the woods, you know, in the mountains, and everything from the grass to the rocks to the trees is just done with so much detail that's really amazing. And the action is also done super well. It's very fluid. I'll kind of compare it briefly to Blade of the Immortal. Personally, I don't think Blade of the Immortal did a super good job at portraying fluid action, whereas Vagabond, which is a kind of similar series in themes, I mean, honestly, it's just night and day. You can tell completely what's going on. The sword strokes are just super fluid, and you can tell exactly what's happening at every point. And obviously, being a samurai series, there's lots of blood and gore, which is also done extremely well. I think Inoue finds a good balance of no gore and over-the-top gore, and it kind of meets in the middle to be the perfect amount. And the last thing I'll mention with the art is the faces. They're very expressive, and it's very easy to see the emotion that he's trying to show on all of the characters' faces. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of time where Takehiko is just reflecting on his own life and his choices, and I'll show some panels of his face, you know, when he's thinking about everything that he's done, all the people that he's cut down meaninglessly. And already in these first few volumes, there are lots of emotional moments that are just done super well, partly because of the faces that he draws. So overall, this manga is just an absolute joy to look at through and through, from everything from the environment to the faces to the action. It's all done masterfully. So next we'll talk about the story, and the thing I really like about this story is that it constantly keeps me engaged, that there's always something going on, there's never really a dull moment. There are lots of scene changes, they go from place to place, there are lots of fights that I think aren't done too much. There really seems to be a good blend of action, character building, dialogue, it all comes together very well. And that's part of the reason why I gave a brief summary of all the major points, is because it's constantly going from thing to thing to thing, so it'd be really hard for me to tell you everything that happens, but that just goes to show that it's very action-packed and there's never a dull moment. Now, one small critique I have is that in this first Visbig, the story doesn't really seem to find its footing, and I'll kind of elaborate on that. Basically, I've read the first 3 volumes of the series, but I don't really know the direction that the story is going to go, except for the fact that he just wants to become the strongest swordsman. As of right now, there's no really overarching plot as far as I can tell, but that might just come in the later volumes as I continue reading. And my second critique, or something I maybe just didn't understand, is that he spent all this time looking back in his life, and now he's killed people meaninglessly, and he's given a second shot at life, but it seems like his goal is the exact same thing as it was before. Before, he wants to become the strongest swordsman, and after he's given a new chance as Masashi Miyamoto, he just wants to go challenge his sword school to prove that he's the strongest swordsman. I mean, I don't really see, maybe I'm missing something, but it seems like he's doing the exact same thing that he was doing in his previous life, if you could say that. And if you've read the series, maybe you can let me know in the comments below if I'm missing something. That'd be greatly appreciated. But overall, I'm really invested already in the characters and the story just because of how fast-paced it is. Kind of reminds me of Gantz, how there's just always something going on, constantly something to keep me engaged. But yeah, overall, this first Vagabond Bisbig was an absolute joy to read. Everything from the art to the story to the characters is all done extremely well, and I can already see why the story is held to such a high standard. I truly cannot wait to keep reading and see what happens between Hanamachi and Masashi as they meet and they cross paths, and I can't wait to see how Masashi fares on his journey, becoming the most powerful swordsman under the sun as a Vagabond. But if you guys did enjoy this first special review of Vagabond by Takehiko Inoue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more manga videos just like this. So yeah, this has been ThePromG. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and as always, hope to catch you in the next one.